My brother slept with my girlfriend, got her pregnant, and my parents took his side. Now, they begged. But I gave them an ending they never expected. My brother slept with my girlfriend, got her pregnant, and my parents took his side. Now they begged, but I gave them an ending they never expected. I, a 29-year-old male, always thought my family was normal. You know, not perfect, but whose family is? My dad, a 61-year-old male, worked as a bank manager, making decent money, always bragging about his promotions at family gatherings. He was the kind of guy who wore a tie to weekend barbecues and made sure everyone knew exactly how important he was at the firm. He had this way of talking about money that made it clear he valued people based on their income potential. I remember him sizing up my high school friends, asking what their parents did and where they were planning to go to college. Mom, a 58-year-old female, was an elementary school teacher who somehow managed to be sweet to everyone else's kids but a complete nightmare to me at home. She was the type to volunteer for every PTA event, bake cookies for the entire school, but then come home and chew me out for not having a perfectly made bed or for leaving a glass in the sink. Her favorite phrase was always, "Why can't you be more like your brother?" Which, spoiler alert, really messes with a kid's head over time. Then there was my younger brother, Ryan, a 26-year-old male, the golden child. Ryan could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. He sucked at sports, but they went to every game cheering like he was the star player. When he struck out in baseball, it was bad pitching. When he fumbled in football, it was the coach's fault for not utilizing his talents properly. He got CS in school and they'd praise him for trying his best and having such diverse interests beyond academics. Meanwhile, I was busting my ass getting straight A's and they'd ask why I didn't get the extra credit or join more clubs to round out my college applications. I was never the favorite, but I didn't realize how bad it was until the day I got accepted into a pretty competitive university with a partial scholarship. Ryan had just failed 2 classes and was on academic probation at his high school. During what should have been a celebration dinner for my college acceptance, my parents spent the entire time consoling Ryan about how the education system doesn't recognize different types of intelligence and promised to hire him a tutor. My acceptance letter sat on the fridge for exactly 2 days before it mysteriously disappeared. Ryan's participation certificate for junior varsity baseball stayed up for 3 years. I joined the military right after high school. Not because I was particularly patriotic, but because I needed to get the hell away from my family. I couldn't take another day of being the ghost in that house, the one whose achievements were acknowledged with a nod while Ryan's mediocrity was celebrated with parties. Plus, college was expensive. And despite my dad's bank job, they made it clear that their financial support would be distributed according to need, which somehow always meant Ryan needed more. I did 4 years as a combat medic, deployed twice to Afghanistan. Those were the hardest years of my life, but also, weirdly, the most straightforward. Combat clarifies things. You know who's on your side, who's not, what your job is, and what success looks like. No mind games, no shifting expectations, no golden child to compete with, just you, your training, and the guys who depended on you. I came back with a bad knee and some stories I don't tell at parties. The knee was from a bad landing during a medical evacuation under fire. Nothing heroic, just bad luck and rough terrain. The stories? Well, some things you see as a combat medic stay with you, reshape how you look at normal everyday problems. It makes it hard to get worked up about someone cutting you off in traffic when you've held a 19-year-old's insides in place while waiting for a medevac chopper. My parents barely acknowledged my service. Dad once made a joke about how I just put band-aids on people while Ryan was building a real future working at the local gym as a personal trainer. This from a guy who'd never been further from home than a business conference in Cleveland. Mom would change the subject whenever I started talking about the military, like my entire 4 years of service was some kind of embarrassing phase I went through. Like when Ryan dyed his hair blue for 3 weeks in 10th grade. When I got back, my grandmother had left me a trust fund worth about $140,000. She passed while I was on my second deployment, and I hadn't even been able to come home for the funeral due to being in the middle of nowhere, Afghanistan. Grandma always saw through my parents. She was the only one who ever really saw me, you know? She'd come to my academic award ceremonies when my parents were too busy attending Ryan's junior varsity baseball practice. She'd slip me 20s for books and tell me how proud she was of me. The trust was specifically for me, with clear instructions that it was intended to help me establish a life and career of my choosing. It wasn't life-changing money, but it was enough to put a down payment on a small house and maybe start a business someday. With my VA benefits, I enrolled in business school, thinking I'd open a gym for veterans someday, something to help the guys who came back with worse issues. Then my knee, guys who were struggling with PTSD, missing limbs, traumatic brain injuries, the kind of injuries that make my knee pain seem like a paper cut. That's when I met Mia. She was something else. Dark hair, green eyes, smart as hell. She was studying physical therapy, and we met when she was interning at the VA hospital during one of my checkups. She had this way of explaining things that made complex medical stuff seem simple without making you feel stupid. And her hands were gentle, but confident when she was showing me exercises for my knee. I'd deliberately mess up just so she'd have to guide my movements again. We hit it off immediately, started dating, and within 8 months, we moved in together. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was building something real, something that was mine. Mia didn't compare me to anyone else. She listened when I talked about the military, didn't change the subject or get that uncomfortable look my parents always had. She'd ask thoughtful questions, wanted to know about the good parts and the hard parts. I even introduced her to my family, something I rarely did with women I dated. My parents seemed to like her, though Mom made those passive-aggressive comments she's famous for. "Oh, you're a physical therapist? That's nice. Ryan's girlfriend is finishing medical school, you know." She was not. She was a part-time receptionist at a dermatologist's office who had mentioned maybe applying to nursing school someday. Ryan, that prick, was always extra friendly with Mia, too friendly, looking back on it. At family dinners, he'd always managed to sit next to her, would find reasons to touch her arm while talking, would bring up clients from the gym he helped recover from injuries to steer the conversation toward physical therapy. I thought it was just him trying to impress my girlfriend, show off what a great guy he was. Turns out, I was right about the showing off part, but wrong about everything else. When Mia and I moved in together, Ryan suddenly became weirdly interested in hanging out at our place. He'd stop by unannounced, always when I mentioned I had late classes or would be putting in extra hours at the gym where I was working. He'd bring beer or takeout saying he just wanted to check on the new place or was in the neighborhood. I was actually grateful at first, thought maybe he was making an effort to be a better brother, to support this new chapter in my life. Grateful. Christ, I was so naive. I had been planning to propose to Mia, had the ring and everything. Nothing fancy, but it was what I could afford after putting most of my savings toward a down payment on a small house we were looking at. It was a modest 3-bedroom in a decent neighborhood, but it would be ours somewhere to build a life together. Maybe start a family eventually. I was working as a manager at a local gym while finishing my business degree, and things were finally coming together. Then came that Tuesday. My last client canceled, so I got off work early and decided to surprise me at our apartment. I picked up some takeout from that Thai place she loved and a bottle of wine, thinking we could have a nice night in. Maybe I'd even propose if the moment felt right. I had the ring in my pocket, this little sapphire instead of a diamond because she once mentioned she loved the color. When I pulled into the parking lot of our complex, I noticed Ryan's obnoxious lifted Jeep, the one my parents helped him buy while I was dodging bullets overseas. It was hard to miss with its stupid custom paint job and oversized tires that he definitely didn't need for driving exclusively on suburban roads. For a second, I figured maybe he was just dropping something off. Mia and I had been talking about hosting a family dinner that weekend. Maybe he was being helpful for once in his goddamn life. As I was walking up the stairs to our second-floor apartment, I heard it, Mia's laugh, then Ryan's voice low, saying something I couldn't make out, then silence. There's this moment right before your life falls apart where your brain tries to protect you, comes up with all these innocent explanations, these alternate realities where what you're about to discover isn't happening. Maybe they're watching a movie. Maybe they're planning a surprise for you. Maybe it's something totally innocent and you're being paranoid. Your brain will do anything to avoid processing what deep down you already know is true. I unlocked the door as quietly as I could. The takeout bag felt heavy in my hand. I remember thinking how stupid that detail was, focusing on the weight of some pad thai while my world was about to implode. I walked in and caught them on our couch. The couch I had saved up for 3 months to buy. They didn't even notice me at first. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion, except the car was my relationship, and the crash was my brother screwing my girlfriend. I don't remember dropping the food. I don't remember the exact words I shouted, but I do remember Ryan's face not even shocked, just annoyed at being interrupted. And Mia scrambling to cover herself, tears already starting. Not tears of shame, I realized later, but tears of getting caught. How long? Was all I could manage to ask. Bro? Calm down, Ryan said, like I'd walked in on him eating my leftovers from the fridge, not the woman I loved. He actually had the audacity to sound irritated, like I was overreacting to catching them. 8 months, Mia whispered. 8 months, almost our entire relationship. While I was planning a future, buying furniture, looking at houses, picking out a goddamn engagement ring, they were laughing behind my back. Every time Ryan happened to stop by when I wasn't home. Every time Mia's phone dinged with a text and she smiled to herself. Every time she was too tired or not in the mood, it all suddenly made horrible, perfect sense. I lost it, grabbed Ryan by his throat and threw him against the wall. He might have been the athletic one in my parents' eyes, But 4 years of military training and hauling wounded soldiers through mountains made me stronger than he'd ever be. I could have killed him right there, and part of me wanted to feel his windpipe collapse under my fingers, wanted to watch the smug drain from his face along with the oxygen. So instead, I just told them both to get the hell out. Now. Not tomorrow. Not in an hour. Now. Mia tried to explain, crying about how it just happened and how confused she was. She said she loved me but had developed feelings for Ryan. Said she didn't know how to tell me, didn't want to hurt me. The absolute irony of it. Ryan didn't say much, just collected his clothes and left. No apology, no explanation, nothing. Just zipped up his pants and walked out like this was a minor inconvenience in his day. The last thing he said was, "I'll call you later," to her, not to me. Like they had plans to discuss this. Strategies to manage the fallout of getting caught. Probably they did. I spent that night destroying everything in the apartment that reminded me of either of them. The neighbor had called the cops because of the noise. 2 officers showed up, took one look at the state of the place and my bleeding hands and asked if I was a veteran. When I said yes, one of them, an older guy who mentioned he'd done a tour in Iraq, just nodded. He didn't write me up, just gave me a card for the VA crisis line and told me to get some help before I did something I'd regret. Decent guy. I still have that card somewhere. The next day, I got a call from my mother. Not to check if I was okay. Not to apologize for raising such a backstabbing piece of a son. No. She called to tell me I needed to calm down and be reasonable. Ryan and Mia are very upset about how you reacted, she said. Like, I was the one who had done something wrong. Like, I was the villain in this messed up story. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Are you serious right now? He screwed my girlfriend for 8 months in my apartment behind my back, and I'm the one who needs to calm down? These things happen, Jason. Adults handle them maturely. Ryan says it wasn't planned that they develop feelings for each other. You can't help who you fall in love with. I wanted to vomit. Love? You're calling what they did love? They screwed behind my back for months in my bed, on my couch. That's not love. That's betrayal. Well, they're together now and you're going to have to accept that. We're still family and I expect you to behave civilly at dinner this Sunday. I laughed so hard I started coughing. You expect me to sit across a dinner table from them? Are you out of your mind? Don't use that language with me, young man. Your father and I raised you better than that. Apparently, you didn't raise Ryan better, I shot back. She gasped like I'd slapped her. Ryan has always been sensitive. You know that. He feels terrible about hurting you, but he can't help how he feels. Mia is special to him. That's when it clicked. They weren't just excusing what Ryan did. They were actively supporting it. In their warped minds, Ryan's happiness mattered more than my pain, more than basic human decency. And what about how I feel? I asked, my voice dangerously calm now. What about the fact that I was going to propose to her? That I thought she was the one? There was a pause. You were going to propose? Well, sweetheart, maybe this is for the best then before you made a commitment you'd regret. Mia clearly wasn't the right one for you if she could develop feelings for Ryan so easily. The mental gymnastics were Olympic level. Somehow, in her twisted logic, Mia cheating with Ryan wasn't a reflection on them being terrible people, but on me for picking the wrong girlfriend. Do not come to dinner, she continued, not with that attitude. When you're ready to be adult about this, we'll welcome you back. I hung up and blocked her number. The next few days were a blur of rage and betrayal. I got texts from my father saying I was tearing the family apart with my overreaction. Ryan had the balls to text that he hoped we could still be brothers because family is forever. Mia sent a 4-page email about how sorry she was and how complicated emotions can be and how she never meant to hurt me. I deleted all of it without finishing reading. I moved out of the apartment that weekend. I couldn't stand being in the space they had desecrated. Every time I looked at the couch, I saw them. Every time I walked into the bedroom, I wondered if they'd been there too. I broke the lease, forfeited my security deposit, and found a cheap studio across town. I threw myself into work and school, trying to numb the pain with exhaustion. My friends from the military checked in on me. A couple of them offered to talk some sense into Ryan, which was their way of offering to beat the crap out of him. I appreciated the loyalty, but turned them down. Violence wouldn't fix anything. Besides, I was saving all my rage for something better than momentary satisfaction. 3 weeks later, I got an email from my bank. The trust fund my grandmother had left me, the one that was in a joint account with my parents until I turned 30, had been emptied. All $140,000 gone. I called the bank in a panic, only to be told that my father, as CO trustee, had withdrawn the funds. It was legal. The trust had a provision allowing the CO trustee to access the funds for family emergencies or significant investments. It was supposed to be a safeguard in case I got into trouble and needed help before I turned 30. Instead, it had become the perfect loophole for my father to rob me. I drove to my parents' house that night, adrenaline and rage pumping through my veins. When I pulled up, I saw Ryan's Jeep in the driveway next to a new Honda CR-V I didn't recognize. The porch light was on and I could see movement through the living room windows. They were having some kind of gathering. Of course they were. Life goes on for them even as they were burning mine to the ground. I pounded on the door until my dad opened it, looking annoyed rather than guilty. He was still in his work clothes, tie loosened but not removed, always keeping up appearances. "Where's my money?" I demanded, pushing past him into the house. "Lower your voice," he hissed. "We have guests." In the living room sat my mom, Ryan, Mia, and an older couple I didn't recognize, who I assumed were Mia's parents. They were drinking champagne and looking at what appeared to be house listings spread across the coffee table. A celebration while I was living in a shitty studio, sleeping on an air mattress because I'd left most of my furniture behind. They were celebrating. "What the hell is this?" I asked, gesturing at the cozy little gathering. "Language," my mother snapped. As if that was the biggest problem in the room. Always worried about appearances, about what others might think, never about what was right. "Jason," my dad said, trying to sound authoritative. "This isn't the time or place for your dramatics." "My dramatics? You stole $140,000 from me, money Grandma left me, and I'm being dramatic?" I looked around the room. Does everyone here know what's going on? Do Mia's parents know that she was cheating on me with my brother for 8 months? Do they know that you're using my inheritance to fund this little love nest for the happy couple? Mia's parents looked uncomfortable, but Ryan just put his arm around Mia, who couldn't even look me in the eye. She was wearing a small diamond ring on her left hand that definitely hadn't been there 3 weeks ago. "We didn't steal anything," my father said, his voice cold. "That money was in a trust that I co-managed. I made an executive decision to reallocate it for a family investment." "A family investment?" I repeated. "What investment? That is enough," my father snapped, his face reddening. "I will not have this kind of language and behavior in my house. The decision has been made. The money is being put to good use for the future of this family." My mother smiled, that fake smile she uses at PTA meetings, the one that never reaches her eyes. "Ryan and me are getting married. Isn't that wonderful? And they found the perfect starter home. Your father and I are helping them with the down payment as our wedding gift." I looked at the papers on the coffee table. Sure enough, it was a contract for a house, a $400,000 house in the nice part of town. And there, on the financing page, was a down payment amount of $120,000. They had taken my trust fund to buy my cheating brother and ex-girlfriend a house. Not just any house, but a house nicer than I would have been able to afford for myself. A house that should have been my future, my new start. "You've got to be kidding me," I said. My voice deadly calm despite the hurricane raging inside me. That dangerous calm was back. The one that comes when you're so angry that your emotions loop all the way back around to a cold, calculating rage. Ryan finally spoke up. "Look, Jace. I know this is awkward, but awkward? Awkward. You screw my girlfriend, steal my inheritance, and you think this is awkward?" I looked at Mia. "And you're actually going through with this? You're going to live in a house bought with money that was meant for me. Money for my grandmother who never even met you. How do you sleep at night?" "Nobody stole anything," my father interrupted. "That money was always meant to help both our sons start their lives. Ryan and Mia are starting a family." "A family?" I looked at Mia. "You're pregnant?" She nodded, tears in her eyes. 3 months. The math wasn't hard to do. She'd been cheating on me with Ryan for 8 months. She was 3 months pregnant. There was a good chance she had been sleeping with both of us when she got pregnant. The thought made me physically ill. "Is it even his?" I asked, the words out before I could stop them. The slap came out of nowhere. My mother, her face contorted with rage. "How dare you? After everything we've done for you. Ryan and Mia are in love. They're having a baby and they need a stable home. What were you going to do with that money? Waste it on some gym for broken soldiers." I touched my cheek where she'd slapped me. Oddly calm now. That slap crystallized everything for me. The years of favoritism, the constant dismissal of my achievements, the utter lack of respect for my service, for my sacrifices, for my very existence. "You know what? You deserve each other. All of you. I'm done." "Jason," my father started, his voice stern. "You're being unreasonable." "I'm being unreasonable?" "You stole my inheritance to buy a house for the brother who screwed my girlfriend behind my back. Tell me, Dad, what part of that is reasonable?" "We're family," he said, as if that explained everything. "Family sticks together. Family supports each other through tough times. Family doesn't do what you did," I said. "Not real family." I turned to leave, but Ryan grabbed my arm. "Bro, come on. Don't be like this. It's not like you and Mia were married or anything." I looked at his hand on my arm, then at his face. That smug face that had gotten everything it wanted its entire life. The golden child. The favorite. The one who could do no wrong, even when he was very clearly in the wrong. "Touch me again," I said quietly, "and I'll break every finger you use to make a living." He dropped his hand, stepping back. For the first time, I saw a flicker of fear in his eyes. Good. Let him be afraid. Let him wonder just how much of me had changed during those years in Afghanistan, what I was capable of now. "You're not welcome here until you can be civil," my mother called after me as I walked out. "Until you can be happy for your brother's blessings." I turned at the doorway. Then I guess I'm never coming back. The day after the confrontation, I withdrew from my classes, broke my lease, and re-enlisted. Not the smartest decision emotionally, but I needed to get as far away from that town as possible. I went back to school in a different state, finished my business degree, then got a master's in health administration. I met a guy in one of my classes named Marcus, who had the same idea I did. A wellness center focused on veterans. He had been a logistics officer, had the business experience I lacked. I had the medical background and military connections he needed. Plus, he was a black guy who had grown up in foster care and had his own experience with family disappointment. He got it when I told him my history. No judgment, just understanding. We opened the first center 2 years after I graduated. A gym, physical therapy clinic, and counseling center, all in one, designed specifically for vets transitioning back to civilian life. We hired staff who understood military culture, who wouldn't get weirded out by dark humor or freeze when someone had a flashback. We kept prices low by operating as a non-profit and securing grants for veterans who couldn't afford care. It took off faster than we expected. Within 3 years, we had 4 locations across the state and were eyeing national expansion. Turned out, there was a massive need for a place where veterans could go and not have to explain themselves, not have to soften their experiences or pretend they hadn't seen the things they'd seen. A place built by people who understood. I met Sarah at a fundraiser for veteran suicide prevention. She was a trauma psychologist who specialized in PTSD, smart, compassionate, and beautiful with none of Mia's selfishness. Her father had been a Vietnam vet who struggled with PTSD his whole life, which had inspired her career choice. She got it. She understood the military mindset without romanticizing it or being intimidated by it. We took things slow. Both of us had baggage to work through, but after a year, I knew she was the one. We moved in together and I proposed 6 months later. No drama, no chaos. Just 2 people who respected and loved each other, building a life together. The proposal was simple. We were hiking, reached a viewpoint overlooking the city. I told her that for the first time since I could remember, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be, with exactly who I was supposed to be with. I got down on one knee, pulled out a ring. Sapphire, not diamond, because she once mentioned loving the color. She cried, said yes. I actually cried too, which surprised both of us. We bought a house together. Nothing extravagant, but comfortable. 3 bedrooms, nice yard, enough space to grow into. I paid for it with money I'd earned, not stolen. Every mortgage payment was a reminder that I had built this life from scratch on my terms without any help from the people who should have supported me the most. I had done it, built myself a life from scratch, surrounded by people who cared about me for who I was, not what I could do for them. I had purpose, success, love, everything my family had tried to take from me. I never checked up on them, never looked at Ryan or Mia's social media, never drove by the house they bought with my stolen future. As far as I was concerned, they didn't exist. I had no family except the one I was building for myself, Sarah, our friends, the veterans we helped every day. Until the day my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize, and my mother's voice came through the speaker for the first time in 5 years. "Jason, Jason. Please don't hang up." Her voice sounded older, rougher than I remembered. I should have hung up immediately, but curiosity kept me on the line. That and a certain satisfaction and knowing she was the one reaching out, not the other way around. "What do you want?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. "It's so good to hear your voice. We've missed you so much." "Cut the crap, Mom. What do you want?" She sighed, dropping the fake warmth. "We need your help. The family is in trouble." "I don't have a family," I replied coldly. "Please just listen. Things have been difficult. Your father lost his job 3 years ago. The bank downsized and at his age, he couldn't find another position. We've been living on his pension, but it's not enough. Sounds like a personal problem." "Jason, please. Ryan and Mia, they're struggling too." The house. She stopped herself, probably realizing mentioning the house they bought with my money wasn't the best strategy. "The house you bought them with my trust fund," I finished for her. "What happened? Did they not budget for property taxes?" "It's more complicated than that. Ryan got injured. He can't work as a trainer anymore. He tore his rotator cuff, needed surgery, developed a pain pill problem. He's been in and out of rehab twice." I almost laughed at the irony. The golden child, the athletic one, sidelined by a sports injury, while the damaged veteran was building a successful business. "They have 3 kids now," she continued. And Mia had to quit her job to take care of them and Ryan. They're behind on their mortgage and this concerns me. How exactly? I asked, still typing an email. Your father and I have been helping them as much as we can, but we're stretched thin too. The medical bills, the rehab costs, it's been a nightmare. And now the bank is threatening foreclosure on their house. I laughed. I couldn't help it. Let me get this straight. You want me to help the people who betrayed me, stole from me, and kicked me out of the family? Why would I do that? Because we're blood, she said, as if that meant anything after what they'd done. Because despite everything, we're still your family. Family? I repeated. You know, I've learned a lot about family in the last 5 years. Real family has your back. Real family respects you. Real family doesn't steal your inheritance to give to the brother who screwed your girlfriend. We made mistakes, she admitted, her voice cracking. For a second, I almost felt something. A tiny flicker of the son who had once desperately wanted his mother's approval. I squashed it immediately. Terrible mistakes. But we were desperate, Jason. We could lose everything. Like I lost everything? The girlfriend, the trust fund, the family support, that kind of lose everything? She started crying then. Big dramatic sobs that might have moved me once upon a time. The bank is foreclosing on their house. They're moving in with us, but we can barely pay our own bills. Your father's health isn't good. He had a minor heart attack last year. Our insurance doesn't cover all his medications. We're drowning. And what exactly do you expect me to do about it? We've seen the articles about your business, she said. The wellness centers for veterans. You're successful now. We're so proud of what you've accomplished. I cut her off. Don't pretend you had anything to do with my success. You actively tried to prevent it. You took money that was meant to help me start my life and gave it to Ryan. You don't get to be proud now that I've succeeded despite you, not because of you. You're right. You're absolutely right. We were wrong and we've paid for it every day since you left. Please, Jason, if not for us, then for your nieces and nephews. They're innocent in all this. That gave me pause. The kids were innocent. It was true. Just like I had been innocent when my parents played favorites and made me feel worthless compared to Ryan. But they weren't my responsibility. Their parents had made their choices. Here's what's going to happen, I said finally. I'm going to hang up. You're not going to call me again. You made your choice 5 years ago, and now you're living with the consequences. That's how life works. Jason, please. Goodbye, Mom. I hung up, my hand shaking slightly. Sarah found me on the balcony of our house that evening. Everything okay? She asked, wrapping her arms around me from behind. Her presence was instantly calming, grounding me back in the reality of the life we'd built together. My mother called, I said. They're in financial trouble. Want me to bail them out? Sarah knew the whole story. I told her everything early in our relationship, wanting complete honesty between us. She didn't judge me for cutting them off, never pushed me to reconcile for the sake of family. What are you thinking? She asked. That Karma's a bitch, I said, and that I don't owe them anything. She nodded, not arguing either way. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. That night, I got a text from Ryan's number. Mom told me she called you. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but please, if not for me then for my kids. They don't deserve to suffer because of my mistakes. I'm begging you, brother. Brother. The word felt hollow now, stripped of all meaning. I didn't respond, but I couldn't sleep that night not because I felt guilty. I'd long ago come to terms with cutting off my toxic family, but because of those kids. 3 innocent children who didn't ask to be born to selfish entitled parents. 3 kids who were about to learn the hard way that actions have consequences. I thought about the boy I'd been. Always trying to earn love that was freely given to my brother. Always working twice as hard for half the recognition. I didn't want that for any child. 2 weeks after my mother's call, I received an email from my father. It was long, detailed, and pathetic. A full accounting of their financial situation, medical bills, the pending foreclosure on Ryan and Mia's house. Attached were photos of the kids, 3 young children, 2 boys and a girl, who had my grandmother's eyes and Ryan's smile. It was a masterful guilt trip. I had to give him that. The desperate plea of a man who had run out of options, but still couldn't bring himself to actually apologize for what they'd done. He went on about family legacy and blood being thicker than water, about how much they regretted the misunderstandings of the past. Misunderstandings, like stealing $140,000 from me was just a simple miscommunication. Like, they hadn't deliberately chosen Ryan over me at every turn. The email ended with, "We're not asking for a handout, son. Just a chance to make things right, to be a family again. The children ask about their Uncle Jason sometimes. What should we tell them?" I read it once, then deleted it without responding. The next day, I got another text from Ryan. "Mom told me she called you. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. But please, if not for me then for my kids. They don't deserve to suffer because of my mistakes. I'm begging you, brother. Deleted. Then Mia tried. A long, tearful voicemail about how sorry she was, how she'd made the biggest mistake of her life, how the kids were innocent and needed help. Deleted. My mother called 17 times over the next week. My father sent 3 more emails. I blocked them all. Are you sure about this? Sarah asked one night as we sat on our deck watching the sunset. I'll support whatever you decide, but I want to make sure you're at peace with it. I thought about it for a moment. You know what I realized? They're not reaching out because they regret what they did. They're reaching out because they need something from me. If they were doing fine financially, I'd still be dead to them. And the kids? Not my responsibility, I said firmly. Harsh as it sounds, Ryan and Mia made their choices. Now they get to live with the consequences. 6 months later, I saw an article in my hometown's online newspaper. The house, my house, the one bought with my stolen trust fund, had been foreclosed on and sold at auction. My parents had filed for bankruptcy. Ryan and Mia had moved out of state to live with her parents. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no regret, no guilt, just a peaceful certainty that justice had finally been served. You know what the funny thing is? I told Sarah that night, they spent my entire life making me feel like I wasn't good enough, like I needed them more than they needed me. Now look how things turned out. She smiled and squeezed my hand. The best revenge really is living well. I nodded and letting karma do the rest. Sometimes silence is the loudest response you can give. Sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do. I haven't heard from any of them in over a year now, and I don't expect to. Whatever happened to them after the foreclosure isn't my concern.